So let's get to the point. Our first topic today, 5 Blackwater employees, all of them U.S. military veterans, were charged Monday with manslaughter and attempted manslaughter in a case where at least 17 Iraqi civilians were killed. Was it self-defense? Were they following orders? Should their superiors be held responsible as well? What do you think, Al?
Well, I definitely think if they're guilty of something, the superiors that should have been holding them on a short leash should be involved too. The disturbing thing to me is that this happened pretty close to a year ago.
Right, September of 2007.
Yeah, and it seems to me that they should have had quicker resolution of this, either decide to go to a trial on it or not. And I would think these witnesses will have scattered, the survivors, and it will be hard for them to get a fair trial and get all this information together. But I think they should be held accountable.
So what about their superiors, though? I mean, what about the people who gave the orders or...
Oh, I definitely think they should be tried also. And I think it'd be interesting to see if part of the prosecution is that there's a pattern here, that they're sent out with pretty vague orders, and boy, if anything's out of the ordinary, kill it.
Because they claim self-defense.
Yeah.
That's their claim.
It sounds as if what's disturbing about it for me is that the U.S. military that arrived on the scene did an investigation on the spot and said that they saw no evidence that they had been fired upon. So you start to wonder if it's maybe an Ohio State kind of a problem where they thought they were being fired upon and fired indiscriminately back in self-defense. The interesting thing is that they were given immunity to prosecution by Iraqis, so that at least they're going to be tried in the U.S. And the difficulty is they surrendered in Utah, where they think they might be able to get a more friendly jury, at least one that they think would understand some of the tensions dealing with military or combat situations.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you think? What do you think about the U.S. government hiring private companies like this to do the military's work?
Well, I think that the government has a history of hiring private contractors to do jobs that they'd rather not have federal employees doing. Especially when you're dealing with matters of intelligence gathering and, in some cases, quasi-military operations. That's kind of part of how it works. You try to create an arm's length relationship, and so there was a lot of security duty that needed to occur. I mean, let's remember that this was. I guess the first thing I'd say is we've had a number of these cases with members of the military where they've been accused of pretty heinous crimes, and then, when they got their trial, the juries just didn't agree with the prosecution, and I think that proves the point that it's a little bit difficult to make a case that somebody is intentionally trying to murder someone else in a hostile military environment. I mean, these gentlemen are being paid to provide private security. They're driving through very, very hostile neighborhoods where indiscriminate fire does occur, and it's kind of basically a thankless job, and that's why they pay a lot of money to ex-military veterans to take these jobs. And then you have the military showing up afterwards and saying, well, we don't see any evidence you were fired upon. Well, okay, is there going to be evidence of that? And again, you want to convict people of murder based on a very cloudy situation. These are very, very difficult prosecutions to make, and I think that's why you see the government has not been very successful getting convictions over the last few years.
Interestingly, though, there was a 6th man who took a plea deal, and it'd be really interesting to know what his story is, because he obviously thought that there was enough evidence against him that he would be better off to take this deal. And so the other 5 people in the operation have avoided that.
Well, he's
so
going to testify against them.
That's the assumption, is that he knows something, and I'd love to know what he knows.
And one of the justifications for the contractors doing the job they were doing of security is that you have that continuity, that you don't have people that are over there for a year and then they ship back, and most of the military is not well equipped to do security work. even the MPs and the Shore Patrol and those are kind of geared up to looking after servicemen and making sure they don't interact illegally with the general population. So I think there's a real need for these specialized people, and it's be interesting to know why they were out, apparently not protecting anyone at the time, and they may have gone out for retaliation that or preemptive.
They were supposedly in a very
convoy.
secured area too. I mean, a walled,
Were they?
secure area. That's what it said. And also, interestingly, the Iraqis now have an agreement that if something like this happens again, that they get tried in Iraq.
Yeah, they've insisted. Well, of course, all that really
They-
does is just end all the private security firm
I
coverage.
would
because
never
there's no
take,
firm in the world that's
if you're
going
off
to,
an American base,
yeah.
you're not doing.
Right.
I mean, if you're
So-
doing your job, you're off an American base, and that's when they can prosecute you. I don't think I'd want to be prosecuted by the Iraqis.
It's important to remember how Wild West like a lot of these neighborhoods and
Yeah.
atmospheres were, and 99.9% of the people on this planet would not, for any price, take the job of guarding important VIPs, whether they be government officials, Iraqi government officials, or American officials that are over there. And yet, those people will insist, as part of their job, that they be protected. So, again, this is, I think, an example of a really thankless job where, in many cases, it's very difficult from Portland to really gauge what was going on there. And
Right.
so I'm not inclined to pass judgment on anyone in that, and I'll let the judicial system work itself out.
Does anyone know how much these people get paid?
I think it's
Don't-
over 6 figures to do what they do. Well over 6 figures.
I would hope so.